Hello, beautiful people. How you doing? Good morning or afternoon or whatever time it is, wherever you are. How you doing? I'm Absa. If you're new, welcome to the channel. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Join our little community. Mic check, mic check. You can hear me okay? Oh, yes, we on. We on. The done deal. Hello. Beth Ann, Fornomaly, Lady, Couch, Potatoes. I hope you all are doing very well. I'm a little tired. I'm a little bleary-eyed, late night, early morning, but we here. We here, okay? Shout out to everybody who's watching. Hit the like button, share the live. Shout out to all the members, the subscribers, the supporters in all of the places. You are the executive producers of this channel. Shout out to everybody who supports the Docket Fund to, you know, make this go, pretty much. We've got a small goal today in support of that. And we have a new document in the lawsuit by a creditor against OVO, which is majority but not completely owned by one Aubrey Drake Graham. He has two business partners in that venture. We talked about this a few weeks ago when the lawsuit dropped up in British Columbia. So, I almost said British Canada, but I'm a little bleary-eyed, beloved. If you're new, I'm doing my best, okay? Um, yeah, we've officially got, at least 2 dockets, in British Columbia, and one of them is Drake's OVO. And boy, did this set off just a bunch of stuff on the internet and debates back and forth, and the OVO is like, "He don't owe no money. He paid them." Beloved, don't be a biscuit head. If you're just joining, hit the like button, share the live. So we're gonna go back into the not too, not too way back machine, because straight up, between researching what this new filing is and just, trying to make it through Tuesday, uh, I've personally forgotten a lot of details about the parties and the situation. And, I wanna make sure that we all remember the details and all have the same understanding of what this lawsuit is. Right after we learned about the lawsuit, we learned, per a rumor in the media, not verified by any of the parties on the record, but we learned that Drake is apparently attempting to sell half of this company that he has very interesting debts for. But just because we learned about something, the order in which we learn about things isn't necessarily the order in which they happen. So just, remember that and hit the like button if you're just joining. Where is the beef? He's cooked. Okay, so we're gonna start by going into the, like I said, the not too distant Wayback Machine, so that I can be refreshed in all of the details, so that when I'm talking about this, I know what the hell I'm talking about. And so you can be refreshed on all the details. Maybe you're new. Maybe this is new information to you. Maybe you were here and you done forgot all the details too, child. It be like that. Okay. We got real lives, real things that matter. This be our little entertainment. Okay. Our little entertainment. But for me, also a full on mental exercise and research and understanding how the BC court system works. Very, very interesting. And I had to spend quite a bit of time with literally one a one-page document trying to figure out what is this? What does this mean? But we will get to that. We'll start with the Wayback Machine. Some of you are going to give me some thumbs up or thumbs down to let me know that you can hear this or not. You may have heard that Drake is set to sell a 50% stake of his company, October's very own. Or maybe you've heard that Drake is being sued. Yes, again, no, it's not for gambling. OVO, which Drake is a majority owner of, is being sued over debts and a potential ownership stake involving the OVO company. The reporting is scarce and the details are still coming to light, so let's break it down. Just like Drake has a lot of feelings, he has a lot of companies, from OVO Sound to a fragrance company to Frozen Moments and a bunch of others. Now, the malnourished and the malinformed corners of the internet would have you believe that Drake is a billionaire with more money than he knows what to do with. In reality, Drake is not a billionaire and he's probably been cash poor for a while. More on that later. What we learned this week is some of Drake's companies are broke. Drake nearly lost the OVO name and owl logo a few months ago, and he and his business partners have money problems with a bank in Canada. This issue involves three companies, of which Drake is a majority owner. First, there's OVO ULC. Next is OVO Merchandising. And finally, OVO IP Holdings. We pick up this story a year and a half ago, around January 2025. Drake and his business partners who own OVO Merchandising are in millions of dollars of debt to the Royal Bank of Canada, and they need to raise $30 to $40 million as quickly as possible and pay the bank at least $10 million so they are not personally on the hook for a bunch of debt the company can't pay off. In March, OVO ULC approaches A.R.I, an investment firm, for money. The problem is OVO ULC has been operating in debt for years, despite doing almost $500 million in business in less than 5 years. And just like Drake has more than one OVO business, A.R.I is also not a standalone firm. One A.R.I firm gives OVO $10 million. To secure that money, Drake and his business partners put up the OVO name and the owl logo as collateral, which are owned by a different company, OVO IP Holdings. You know, when your cousin goes to jail and your auntie has to put up her car for collateral with the bondsman. The OVO name and the owl logo are the car in that equation. A few months later, a second A.R.I firm gave OVO ULC more than $5 million, but this isn't a regular loan or investment. There are a lot of conditions and, of course, opportunities that financially benefit A.R.I in the long run. These are known as conversion notes, and the easiest way to describe them is that they gave A.R.I the opportunity to own a part of the OVO ULC company in the future. So at this point in the saga, Drake has two chunks of money from two different A.R.I firms that his company has to pay back. Then he defaults on both of them and damn near loses the name October's very own and the owl logo. The senior secured loan was secured by OVO intellectual property collateral, including rights related to the name October's very own and the logo. Oh my God. I need to change the title of this slide. Drake could lose OVO brand. Save. Around the same time as OVO's defaults under the notes, OVO Holdings defaulted under the senior secured loan transaction. Through a Hail Mary, he's able to save the name and the logo. But then, according to the lawsuit, he refuses to pay all of the financial requirements related to the $5+ million and claimed the relationship between OVO and A.R.I was over. A.R.I wasn't having it, and they pretty much immediately sued OVO ULC in British Columbia earlier this month. Then, a few days later, news broke that Drake is in advanced talks to sell half of OVO to ABG. Neither OVO or ABG have made public comments to confirm this, but that doesn't stop the guzzlers and glazers from claiming victory for Drake, claiming he'll pocket hundreds of millions of dollars. Not so fast. OVO ULC is now embroiled in a serious lawsuit. With the news of a potential sale, A.R.I has to be wondering if they're owed more than a couple $1,000,000. And instead, if OVO ULC rushed to end their deal to prevent A.R.I from triggering their own rights to equity in the company. Regardless, Drake's OVO related companies are in the danger zone financially, and Drake himself, the so-called billionaire, doesn't have enough cash to fix the mounting problems or the assets to get the cash. Remember the bank in Canada that kicked all of this off? Drake himself didn't have the cash or assets to cover his problems with the bank, which is probably tied to more than just the 10 million mentioned in the lawsuit. Any money that comes in from a sale doesn't go into Drake's pockets. It goes to pay off debts across several companies. And he doesn't have many other options to get the cash he needs, which makes the sale critical to the survival of OVO. So maybe this lawsuit is just a debt dispute. Maybe OVO borrowed money, fell behind, and now everybody's fighting over the bill. But if Drake really is shopping half of OVO while being sued by an investor whose deal included rights tied to future ownership, future financing, and future growth, then this story may not be about debt. It may be about who gets a seat at the table when the reins controlling the OVO empire finally leave Drake's hands. Mic check, mic check. All right. We're all caught up. We're all reminded. We're all refreshed. We're all on the same page of what's been going on. Let me pull up this document. Tell you what it is that I found yesterday. Where is my home foreclosed? Where is my stuff? The streets. Manish on the beach, shebang. Shout out to Demetrius for getting us started on our goal today. Much appreciated. Shout out to everybody who's watching. We got a nice little group pulling up. Hit the like button, subscribe. You can say where you are watching from in the world. We love to know that. Make sure you change your chat settings from top chat to live chat so you catch all the goodness there. And give the mod squad a shout out because they deserve it. This is the new document. So the BC docket is very, very expensive. And at first, because this is my first BC docket that I've dealt with, I thought I had lucked out at just $6 per go, right? Pay $6 to be able to see the docket, and then there's documents there, and you can download them, and okay, it's $6, and that is a killer. A killer. It's a killer, okay? It's right up there with LA County. Yesterday, I was thinking to myself, how long has it been since we found out about this lawsuit? Because there are requirements for responding to a lawsuit. There's a certain amount of days. And the days for this lawsuit depended on literally where in the world it was served, not where it was filed. If it was served anywhere in Canada, there was a certain amount of days to respond. If it was served in the United States of America, certain amount of days. If it was served anywhere else in the world, certain amount of days. We don't know where it was served. Okay, so we don't know the days, but we do know like the minimum. If it was served in Canada, that's like 21 days. And wouldn't you know, this must have been muscle memory. It was like 21 days yesterday. So then I had to decide, do I want to spend $6 to see if there's anything, new on the docket? And I was like, okay, I'm going to spend the $6. I spend the $6 and there's something new on the docket. I said, okay. I went to go and download it and it was like, click here to pay for and request the document. And I was like, okay. It's like $10. I said, oh, 10 is shit. That's the norm. That's standard. So the first document was available for free. It was the lawsuit. Once I paid the $6 and got in there, I could just get the document. This time I paid the $6, got in there, and it was like, we're going to need some more money from you. And I was like, Oh my god. Just thinking about the accumulation of what this is going to cost was I did not appreciate that. But anyway, um, then it's how do I get the document from them? Is it going to be revealed on the screen when I pay? No. Are they going to email it to me? No. Your options are mail and fax. These people are really making it difficult for me. Okay. All right. Anyway, I ain't a sucker. So as you can see, I got the document. As you can see, I got the document. Now, this was actually filed June 30th. Okay. And even before I was like, I'm going to pay for this document, I saw what the title of the document was. And I went and did 2 hours of research before I even paid for it. Cause I was like, what is that? I think I know, but you tell me, what is this? So have to go, crack open the British Columbia Superior Court. What is it? Supreme Court, rules and whatnot, and familiarize myself with this term, which was something like, excuse me, um, jurisdictional response. That's what we're about to talk about, jurisdictional response. So I was like, well, maybe I can figure this out on my own. I can't, but I figured out what jurisdictional response is, but it turned out I needed to pay for the document to figure out what is this biscuit head talking about. Okay. If you were here or you replay ganged the reading of the lawsuit, then you know that A.R.I, which is the company that is suing, excuse me, not the company. Well, technically they're a company, but it is the investment firm that is suing OVO. One of the things they referenced in the lawsuit is that it was previously agreed upon between A.R.I and OVO that if they ever needed to go to court for something, they would go to court in British Columbia. That's what A.R.I alleges in their lawsuit. They say it's in writing, everybody signed off on it. If we got to sue, we sue in British Columbia. So obviously, I'm curious. Jurisdictional response. What is that and why is it being filed? And is it a challenge to jurisdiction? So this is A.R.I OVO Growth Capital I LLC against October's very own ULC. And this is it. It was one page. When I tell you when that document came through and it was one page, I was like, I paid $16 for one page. Support the Docket Fund. And thank you to those of you who do support the Docket Fund. Maybe you ain't got $2 for your auntie. I know you got to like and subscribe. Okay, I know you got to like and subscribe. Some of you can scrounge around for some couch cushions. Throw your auntie a couple dollars on the Docket Fund. But this is it. This is the document, okay? So, jurisdictional response. The defendant, October's very own ULC, and there are two options on this document. And the amount of, once I got this document, I then went and did approximately another 3 hours of research, including into this morning, which is why I was up at approximately 4:30 this morning. There are two options on this document. Number one, OVO disputes that this court has jurisdiction over this defendant. Number two, OVO submits that this court ought not exercise its jurisdiction over this defendant. Child, we still got to pay the bill from the American docket fund last quarter. Like the month just ended. That bill is coming. Okay. I was like, gulp. Thank you. Appreciate your support. We will come back around to the super chats. So these are the two options. Drake has barristers and solicitors out of Canada for this case, and they select number two. OVO submits that this court ought not to exercise its jurisdiction over this defendant. Now, after I got off over the initial shock of why aren't there any other pages in this document, I must be missing something. Where's the argument? Where's the rationale? Right? What? Why? For why? Right? I just sit with that for a while, continue to do research. One of the initial things that I got straight up distracted by is, I don't know if you know this here, but Drake has a lot of feelings. I mean, lawsuits. One of his legal tactics appears to be, you could argue that this is just very thorough aspect of litigation. Sure, sure, sure. One of Drake's tactics appears to be inserting some kind of procedural step or some kind of argument, position, or statement that then needs to basically be litigated on its own. Case in point, the gambling lawsuits. One of Drake's go to arguments is I don't have a relationship with the jurisdictions where I'm being sued. So then you got to go litigate whether or not he has a relationship with the jurisdictions where he's being sued. Another example, his appeal in UMG. And this one really irritated me. One of the things that Drake has done with his appeal. Now, let's try and keep a couple things straight here, okay? Drake sued in the Southern District of New York. Okay? He filed an appeal. That appeal goes to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, which covers more than one jurisdiction to become basically its own jurisdiction. One of the issues in his lawsuit is settled law in New York by the courts in New York, state courts in New York, not the federal court in New York, state courts in New York, settled law. One of the things that Drake has said in his appeal is, is it? Is it? I want to carve this piece out and I want it sent back over to the New York State Supreme Court and have them look at it and tell the Second Circuit Court of Appeals whether or not this is or is not settled law. Beloved, it's settled law. Now, one could say that's very thorough litigation. One could say, it's a stall tactic because it adds an untold amount of time, we'll say average a year, to the appeal process because something has to get carved out. It has to get sent to another court. It sits on their very busy ass full docket until they get around to it. And they look at it and decide if they're going to say just no outright and send it back, or if they're going to say, oh, let's think about this and decide, whether or not we want to weigh in on how it is we view this aspect of the law and then how it relates to this case. Now, Drake is saying the court ought to not exercise its jurisdiction. So then I got to thinking to myself, I got to pull up my notes. And both of my screens are full. I got to pull up my notes. Then I got to thinking to myself, okay, aside from this potentially being just a stall tactic, why? So let's back up. Okay. In certain civil and criminal matters, in order to argue something in a case procedurally, you have to bring it up at a certain time. If you intend to bring it up later, right? It doesn't just, there are very few things and very few things that get argued in court that are just a flat out surprise to the court or to the parties. Because at some point in time, you've had to disclose that. You may, if it's like a defense, you may have to actually have it approved by the court, but it's not a surprise, right? And so let's just start with like what this is. So, technically and procedurally, based on my research of the British Columbia Supreme Court rules, this is number one, a marker of we are going to raise a jurisdictional thing at some point in time. And then they have 30 days to either file something addressing specifically just jurisdiction or file a response to the lawsuit that also includes a jurisdictional challenge for some reason. Now, A.R.I. said in their lawsuit that the parties previously agreed to litigate this in British Columbia if it gets to litigation. That was just one paragraph in an agreement we have not seen yet. So we don't know if the agreement says other things, right? There needs to be mediation. There needs to be arbitration. Drake apparently loves to sign contracts that include mandatory arbitration. Hence all the gambling lawsuits trying to, be kicked out of court based on mandatory arbitration. So, the very fact that he did not dispute the court has jurisdiction, okay, and instead says this court ought not to exercise its jurisdiction over this defendant suggests that we can expect probably this month, because this was filed on the 30th, we can expect either a filing that addresses jurisdiction with an argument of why the court should not even be dealing with this, or we can expect a full response to the lawsuit and a part of that explicitly addressing why the court should not exercise its jurisdiction. So this is Drake, on the one hand, affirming that this court does have jurisdiction, but then on the other hand, saying it should not exercise that jurisdiction. And we don't know why, because they're not required to say that when they file this document. They're just required to file it at a certain amount of time and then follow up within a certain amount of time, which, depending on where the lawsuit was served, could or could not expand their time in responding to the lawsuit, or they just focus on this as their first step. I kind of see it as a both and. I'm super curious to know why, in favor of what? What do they think is more binding than we agreed that if we go to court, we go to court in British Columbia? Unfortunately, based on all of the documents that I've read related to Drake that are in court filings, I just don't believe it's a simple good faith effort on his part. I think it could be some nonsense. That's just my read. Shout out to everybody who's watching. I see you here. I hope you're having a good day so far. Hit the like button if you would be so kind. It helps the channel. Simple, quick way to help the channel grow and to let other people know that this live is happening and that this replay will be available to them so they can learn all the, latest foolishness going on with Drake. So, yeah, and I mean, there are some people who feel like, that it was predatory and, this, that, and the other. I don't, we haven't seen it, so I don't know. I don't think the only thing that was in Drake's favor is we're gonna give you this money. But the investment firm is gonna write a contract that supports all of their best interests. And that is why when they agreed to loan him money, some of that was conversion notes, conversion for ownership, conversion for future profit. And I still think that if it is true that he is trying to sell 50% of the company, well, what does that mean right? We know how it was reported. It was very broad brushstrokes. Drake is selling 50% of OVO to this, athletic sportswear marketing company that is very successful, blah, 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 blah. He only owns 50%. Or he doesn't own 100% of the company. So if he sells 50% of the company, he doesn't, unless they're doing a complete ownership restructuring. Remember, he has two partners that have partial ownership over this company. So unless they're doing an entire restructuring of ownership, if he sells 50% of the company, he's not going to have a controlling interest in it anymore. Math is math. It might not be my ministry, but I do know that much, right? So, and I do think that this is relevant. I do think that A.R.I. may find the potential 50% sale of the company relevant to what it is they wound up dealing with him, which was that all of a sudden one day he was like, "Here's a couple million that pays back what I originally borrowed, but not what I owe, and we're done here. Bye." Like, they were in business, and then Drake was like, "Actually, this is over." And that's why he got sued, because they were like, "No, no, it's not over. We have a business arrangement that is based on future earnings. And if you're gonna cut that short, we have a clause that protects us from you being able to do that." So, this is what we got. This is what we got. The court not exercise its jurisdiction. Why? He didn't pay the money. If he had paid the money, then A.R.I. would have withdrawn their lawsuit. So, and all of this, let's not forget, all of this all started from a situation that we don't have details on, which is that Drake is in trouble, or OVO companies are in trouble with the Royal Bank of Canada. That's why he needed that cash infusion and why he put up the name and the logo to get it, because he's got a financial business relationship with the Royal Bank of Canada, and it's not going well. And they had certain things that they were demanding in order to continue that relationship. So, you know, when people are like, "This is gonna be," if he sells the company, "It's gonna be a windfall for Drake." No, it's not. He's in debt. Several OVO companies are in debt. And the only reason that he is selling is because he needs to pay off debt that he cannot cover on his own. So stop telling me that Drake is a fucking billionaire. He doesn't have assets to cover a $10 million debt. But he just bought this watch, and he just bought this car, and he just bought this thing is worth this much, and Drake just bought it. You don't know how much just because it was valued at something doesn't mean you know how much he paid for it, or if he paid for it at all. A social media post about, "I got new bling that cost this amount of money," is not more powerful than a docket. Royal Bank of Canada said, "Can you guarantee this 10 million?" Drake said, "I can, some of it." No, not all of it. He doesn't have anything else that he can liquidate? No, because he's the hoarder of hip hop, right? Drake is not the liquidator, he's the hoarder of hip hop. He wants to get everybody else's chains and rings and cars and blah, 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 blah. He's the hoarder of hip hop. He's not liquidating. You ain't got $10 million worth of shit you can liquidate. You're Drake. This is exactly what I said to the people who were hopping in my comments like, "LOL, so Drake just bought this 3 milli blah, 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 and you want me to believe he's broke?" I'm like, "Well, beloved, that probably explains why he can't clear his debts. He's too busy buying dumb shit." This is really Drake is the conquistador of hip hop. Damn.
High five. I'm bulletproof.
He doesn't buy investment, he buys status. This man is buying the persona of rich every day so that his glazers think he's the king of the world. Kiki says, let's lay it down here. Predicting Drake is making a deal to sell his masters for 50 to 100 million. Yep. And then he got to pay taxes and then he got to pay off, guess what? Debt. Yeah. Yeah, because that is the only other asset that he has. And I've long since believed that Drake is a status hoarder and he won't get rid of things because he's scared of the narrative that can be built around that. He doesn't want to look like he can't afford the biggest house. He can't afford the biggest plane. He can't afford all the bling and going to the strip club and whatever the things are, the cars, whatever the things are. Um he wants to look like he can always and forever do that. And you can't always and forever do that. I think Drake has always been I think he's kind of like Mr. Beast. I think he's always been behind financially and a little bit underwater, and it's just been kind of swinging from one branch to another to basically, stay ahead of it, and you can't do that forever. And Kiki, you pointed out, in one of our previous lives about his whole, $400 million advance. 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 Y'all biscuit heads out there ain't never worked a job where you've gotten an advance before. Because if you had, you would know. You gotta pay it back. They just cut it out of any future earnings. So, if you were advanced 400 million, you owe 400 million, you ain't got 400 million. That's rap math for you. Shout out to everybody who's watching. It's good to see you. Where are you watching from? How you doing today this Wednesday? Pop into the live and let me know where you're watching from. I do a replay and I read everybody's comments. So hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. This is the spot. This is the spot for Drake being sued. This is the one. Yeah. Yeah, I mean there are things that UMG owns, there are things that Frozen Moments LLC owns, which is a part of his corporate structure, but a separate branch than where he has all of these, OVO named um companies. So it's also just kind of a learning about how he structures things has been interesting. Be more. Philly, Nebraska. Hey, Nebraska. So I learned new things about who owns what in reading his lawsuit against UMG. So I learned some details that I just didn't know. The streets probably knew, but child, I didn't pay attention to this man before 2 years ago. So yeah. Virginia Beach. Yeah, they really think he got 400 liquid, and they be crazy. They be crazy and delulu. Crazy and delulu. Shout out to the whole of Cali. How about that? So it'll be interesting to see what they think the actual justification for this is, because in favor of what? And why should the court, you can't, you're not saying to the court not exercise its jurisdiction over the defendant because we don't owe any money. We don't owe any money is something to litigate. So this isn't related to arguing the merits of the lawsuit. This is related to arguing whether or not the court has standing to have a docket and a lawsuit at this point. Again, classic gambling lawsuit, you know, tactic. Um, so he's not saying that. That's not what this is. This is not don't exercise jurisdiction because I don't owe any money. You have to prove to the court that you don't owe any money. So that's a separate argument. This is you have jurisdiction over this. You shouldn't exercise it. Why? Why? We don't know today because they didn't need to tell the court why when they filed this, but they do have to tell the court why within 30 days of filing it. And I would imagine at some point in time, we gonna get this agreement, even if it's redacted portions, you know, a redacted version of this agreement between OVO and A.R.I. Somebody is gonna have to put, especially with this, the court ought not exercise its jurisdiction. Somebody's gonna have to put something on the docket to show the court why. What within the agreement says this is not the proper venue? When according to A.R.I., the parties have agreed that this is the proper venue. So you can't just tell a court, you can't exercise jurisdiction over me. These allegations are false. You have to go and litigate the allegation. This isn't that. This is you have jurisdiction, and we get that because he didn't check the first box, disputing jurisdiction. He checked the second box, don't exercise your jurisdiction. So that affirms what A.R.I. said, which is that this would be litigated in BC, and the parties agreed. Confirmed. If it needed to get litigated, it would be litigated in BC. And this is Drake saying wrong venue, potentially. Shout out to Demetrius, Nessa Moon, Drake, and Pooh Shiesty are the dockets that just keep on giving, child, for the one page, because yeet. I know you said yeesh, but I chose yeet. Docket fun. Thank you, beautiful. One funky page, one funky $16 page. I was like, you, this is gonna, child. I'm gonna be saying support the docket fund every other sentence going through this. Cause I don't even wanna know. I'm just like, okay, Drake, wrap it up. Pay these people. Pay these people because we ain't got it like that, bro. We ain't got it like that. Hey, hey, hey. Am I screaming? I don't think I'm screaming. I was screaming before. I'm not screaming now. Confetti, yay. I mean, I have a feeling this is gonna get down to, like, whether or not forbearance was mediation or some shit like that. I don't even know. I think it's gonna be just a technical, hard hair splitting. You know what I mean? Because A.R.I came in hot on the docket. And, I don't know. This is but just for funsies in my head, as I said before when we looked at this lawsuit, I said, "Oh, I think they sick of this man." And then I don't think lawyers were necessarily front and center on the OVO side when, the defaults were happening and all of that. I was like, I think Drake was coming in with his business partners on vibes like, we got it, we got it. Pinky swear, we promise, 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 promise. We got it, we got it, we got it. They paid their little forbearance fines, they signed their new little agreements. And then when they defaulted on that, by not paying the full amount, A.R.I was like, we're not having this conversation anymore. We're suing. Bring on the adults. Bring on the adults. Oh, okay. I was gonna say, what did I do? Avoiding the third strike was easy today. Well, yeah, it was. It was. You're right. If you're a true billionaire, a $10 million loan should have been paid off pronto. And this is another reason why we could come to the, conclusion that Nicki Minaj is broke. She damn near lost a whole fucking multi-million-dollar house for a $500,000 court judgment that she paid after the county seized her house. She was just able to work it out, but it was a done deal. They went to court, they argued to the court was like, "Yep, you can have it," handed it over to the sheriff was like, "Yep, we're gonna take possession of this house," and then at the 12.5 hour, she paid the $500,000 in damages, or somebody gave it to her to be able to pay it off. But it's just like these people are not as you think because they have stuff that they're rich. Rich people acquire stuff all the time. They have companies that own their properties. They get mortgages through companies because they don't have credit, right? So they find a way through the means of finance and economics to acquire things. Things are given to them. Remember, the plane he didn't buy that. That was literally part of a company's promo. They gave it to him. But then you've got people who are like, "Well, it's free." Then you know what the overhead cost is for that fucking plane? More than what the plane is worth. This is why Beyoncé and Jay-Z been flying around the planet in the same fucking plane since 1998. He doesn't gamble with his own money because he doesn't have it. So when people are like, "He signed a $100 million contract," okay, a third of that is gone. Off rip, at least, if not more. Then you gotta pay bills, debts. Anybody who buys the embassy is gonna have to do major renovation because it was tailored to Drake. You want the OVO basketball court? No, you don't. You want your own basketball court. If you're rich enough to afford that house, you want a basketball court that has your name on it, not some biscuit head ass rapper. it's easier to literally shut off the circuit box, go stay at your other crib in Texas, your little, your little McMansion. That's affordable. Embassy, overhead not affordable. Yeah, it's got major problems. And that's going to happen every year. You're going to have to invest in changing the layout of the grounds to deal with that. So I said a year and a half ago, Drake was broke, and I stand by that sentiment. I stand by my position on Drake is broke. And really the fact that, I really hope he's been able to figure it out with the frickin' Royal Bank of Canada, because if he hasn't, we're all gonna learn really ugly details about this man's finances, because they will only go but so far to protect themselves as well. Drake is a bubble, and the bubble started popping 2 years ago, at least. At least. Actually, before then, because in A.R.I.'s lawsuit, they said that certain OVO companies have been operating in the red every year since 2022. So for all of the people who either wanna blame Kendrick or give Kendrick credit for, Drake being in the position that he's in right now, beloved, he did that to himself. He did that to himself. We would not know about this man me pocket watching. He being sued because he broke. What do you want me to do? Don't be a hypocrite, beloved. Don't be a hypocrite. We in it because this shit is on a public docket in the news. And we like to read things for ourselves around here. So that's what we do. And because you all be out there, he's so rich. And then just making shit up. He paid off all the money. This is basically an admission that he didn't. Okay? Because for him to argue that he paid off all the money, that's a litigation argument. So this is basically an admission that, "No, I did not pay off all the money." And for some reason, I will be asking in detail for the British Columbia Supreme Court to not exercise its jurisdiction over this case where I, in fact, did not pay all of the money. I'm sorry, OVHOs, I'm sorry? That's right, be quiet now. Just Blaze says, "Whatever happened with his mansion in LA that was up for sale, that was not selling? It's up for sale and it's not selling." Dunno. I don't think anything is directly in Drake's name, right? Because, Frozen Moments LLC owns aspects of his catalog, and he owns Frozen Moments LLC. So just directly to his name, dunno. Dunno. I think it's super gaudy. I really do. Every time I see the embassy, I'm like, "New money." Just wasted new money. It looks like something out of 1998. It's crazy. the crackling on the mirrors and I'm just like, "Oh my god, this is what somebody thought a rich person's house looks like, and that's how they had it built." Yeah, I think it's super gaudy and super tacky. That's just me. Yeah, I mean, for some people it is, and I agree, like, when we were looking at the zine for Iceman, they showed the picture of him in the, like, yellow leather with the booty stain colored boots. I was like, "This is gaudy. It's tacky." When I look at Dennis, I'm like, "Oh my god, is dressing these people." Um, yeah, this is what we think rich looks like, so this is how we're gonna dress, and you're not even dressing for yourself, which is really unfortunate. You're not even just dressing for yourself. So, yeah, fake chains and it's just this whole persona. That's his biggest investment is persona, and persona goes down the drain. Every time Drake pops up, he's flushing the toilet on what he just did. It's gotta be new money, new car, new bling, more money spent at a strip thrown around at a strip club. It's gotta be like all of that is just down the drain money. When Drake wants to show people something expensive, down the drain money, because that's what it is. It's literally show and tell. Aside from those items that make him feel like he belongs in hip hop, which Conquistador is perfect. Bro, no. Um, those little things that make him feel like I'm powerful. You're petty. Um, Everything else is just I want to remind people that I am rich. You're broke in pocket and spirit. Gavel. If you're just joining, hit the like button. Share the live. Let's I'm trying to think of a good I mean, it is true that niggas is broke out here. And they do turn to streaming just like Drake did. So I guess broke nigga streamer titties for everybody. Let's hit it to the next segment. Shout out to everybody who stayed around for the best part. Beloved, it don't do nothing to your pocket. It don't do nothing to your pocket. Drake being broke might be the most like us quality about him. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Drake being broke might be the most like us quality about him. Yeah. In this economy, shoot. Yeah. I wouldn't want that. I really wouldn't want that. I really wouldn't want that. I really wouldn't want that. The richer I get, the smaller and more isolated my home becomes. My land might get bigger, but not necessarily my home. And that's another thing that I think about when I see the embassy. I'm like, "That shit is depressing." You ain't got no it's but you and staff, you and niggas you pay to look like your friends. So it's a prop. It's a little set piece. I couldn't be bothered, baby. I couldn't be bothered. If I had all the money in the world, I might buy a mansion. You know where you'd find me? In the guest house. You know when the mansion becomes operational? At the holidays and the birthday parties when everybody comes over and everybody wants to stay. Stay there. I'm over here in the back of the property in my little, guest house. I'm good. I don't want all that big, empty, empty, empty space. No. Yep, Drake doesn't have friends, he has staff. Staff, glazers, thirsty biscuit heads, and cuckolds. That's what he's got. For nothing. For nothing. It's one thing if you have a big family, you know what I mean? And you're the gathering spot. Then it makes sense to have all of that space. But waking up to nobody every day, except for the people you pay to be there, that's depressing. That's depressing. In a house that you bought so people would think that you were cool and rich, that's depressing. That was his friend, yes. Mhm. Who became a security guard. I mean, I remember when my son this is per you I remember when, my son moved out and I became an empty nester and all of a sudden, even though I had no plans to move from that place, all of a sudden I was like, "This place is really big." And then when I did have to move from it, um, I moved to a smaller, space, but I also just got rid of so much stuff. Literally an entire dump truck. They had to put the tarp over the mound in the dump. I got rid of so much stuff, and I still feel like I didn't get rid of enough. But yeah, I would like to, be left alone in a quiet space. That's my dream for, you know, if I become a millionaire by winning the lotto that I don't play. Flashburnt. Am I wrong? Drake is basically modern day Elvis. I think that Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair to say. I had to think about that. Any artist who is a mega superstar, right? A global superstar and has a big persona and spends a lot of money on that persona, um, at some point in time, they're gonna have some challenges, especially if they're trying to have their persona be a constant presence. And I think that's one of the differences between, like, somebody like Beyoncé and Drake. Being Beyoncé is very expensive. Being Beyoncé on tour is astronomically expensive. Imagine if Beyoncé was on as Beyoncé every fucking day, public facing, every day. That shit is expensive. She's Beyoncé. Even though she gets her diamonds on discount or on loan or for free from Tiffany's at this point in time, even though that woman has high standards, she does like expensive fabrics. To be that front facing 365 days out of the year? No, no. It costs too much money because you have to reinvent yourself every fucking day, and for what? Literally people's attention. You don't necessarily there's no exchange happening. There's no real I mean, the exchange is entertainment at this point in time, but it's an empty exchange, right? Drake does something, people talk about it, they point and laugh, they give him attention, they move on. Drake does something, people talk about it, they point and laugh, like, the exchange is funky. Like, what is actually being exchanged here besides attention? And there are some celebrities who have decided that's too expensive for me in a lot of different ways. It's too expensive to the pocket, it's too expensive to my mind, it's too expensive to my spirit, too expensive to my family and their autonomy, that my kids, whatever. But Drake is one of those people who he wants to know that people are thinking about him, and he puts all his abs on the scale to make sure that people are thinking about him in one way or another. Yeah, you lose things in the process. So, lifelong battle. That's not a one-to-one. You have to remember, people need to remember it costs money to make money. It costs money to make money, and everybody is taking a cut. They're taking a cut on your merch. If you're doing a concert through Live Nation, they're taking a cut of everything. Even if you had your merch, um, done through somebody else, they're gonna take a cut because you had it done through somebody else. So, you don't just sell a $26 ticket and take that $26 profit. You'd be lucky if you take 6 because you owe $20 to everybody else. So, it's not a one-to-one, and also he's not selling out places like he was before. Jay-Z could sell out fucking anything. Shit, he could sell out Azteca Stadium. He could sell out literally anything. Drake cannot sell out anything. By himself? Beloved, be real. That's why he goes on tour with 50, 11 different fucking people all the goddamn time. He couldn't sell out a couple basketball courts in Australia last summer. I mean, they were bigger than basketball courts, but barely. He couldn't sell those out. He canceled the tour and said, "Imma come back." He ain't go back. That boy ain't going back. Yeah, I think he lost money on Anita Mac's win, unless the insurance company just decided to, call it even and wash that out. I think any tour going forward for Drake, he loses money. He will always have stands, period, and they will pay to go see him. Half of them will hold up signs begging for money. But, you know, he's gotta pick his pocket and his market, and touring is r at an all-time high when it comes to expenses because Donald. So, you really gotta be somebody that's gonna pull in the people because everything is more expensive to put on a tour, and people don't got it like that, and they're really gonna pick. They're gonna be picky. Do they wanna see an aging rapper, or do they wanna see somebody younger, hotter, more energetic, probably for damn sure has a more interesting stage show? This is facts. If you make good music and make yourself scarce, people will fight to see you. Jay-Z don't be in people's faces like that and has multiple classics. And it's the same with, with Beyonce. It's like by the time we got to Renaissance, it was very clear. She's not going everywhere anymore. She's not doing 90 dates. There are people who are like, "That's fine. I will get on a plane and I will go see Beyonce. I'll pay all the money. Ticket, airfare, hotel, feed myself, all the things, merch." And it's like she did every tour, less shows, less locations, less shows, less less locations, and demand just gets higher and higher and higher and higher. Jay-Z was gonna do this anniversary thing, and it was gonna be just a couple little things. It was supposed to be 2 nights at Madison Square Garden, and now right? Now it's a, "Well, maybe we'll go." "Well, okay, he's gonna go to Paris." "Well, okay, because demand is going crazy, and if you can pull it together, it's not you don't have to convince the people to buy a ticket. So, people are picky, they have standards, and there's an experience that you want to have, and that's what a concert is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be just going and technically being in the same building with an artist who's giving a half-ass performance and a lot of backtracking. You can catch that shit at home. You can watch that on Instagram Live or TikTok Live. Somebody there is streaming it. You don't need to be there for that unless your house is being foreclosed and you have a sign and you want Drake to give you money. So you're going to pay for a ticket in the hopes that he's going to drop you some coin. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, and, Drake is an asshole, is the public opinion of him. He does not have good relationships with people behind the scenes. He's burned bridges, in really disastrous ways throughout his career with people who could help him. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other people who are, willing to step up and help a brother out, but then you owe them. Even when they say, "Oh, no, it's good. I got you. You don't owe me nothing." You owe them. Everybody knows you owe them. If we see him starting to fuck around in the UAE, that is Drake's version of Bruno Mars being owned by the casino till he paid off his debt. If we start seeing Drake professionally fucking around in the UAE, somebody put him on a leash through a private loan. Yeah, don't don't have me show up to a concert and half of it is just try to get the whole crowd to sing the lyrics because you done forgot your own corny ass song. I don't think so. No, that's not worth it to me. No, I wouldn't go to a Drake concert if somebody gave me tickets for free. And I'm dead serious about that. That is not a good, enjoyable use of my time. And I would not do that. If I wouldn't go ordinarily because it's not a good, useful, good use of my time, I'm not going for free either. I'm saying, I'm saying, although they're a little pressed right now for, they keep having to deal with bombs dropping. So it's not the time. You saw them bail on the fucking pro golf league quick, fast, in a hurry. But still, you get the point that I was trying to make. A Dose of Alana. I definitely heard his shows suck. I mean, yeah. Anybody who just stands on stage, walks back and forth, and has a little gimmick of, raise me up and then bring me back down and then raise me up. That's not it for me. Put on a sweatshirt with smoke coming out. That's not a show. It's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment. And I've seen some really good shows. Hell, I flew to California to see Toby Nwigwe and his, wife in a very small theater in LA because I was like, "Nah, nah, they're about to pop. This is gonna be the last time tickets are gonna be this price. This is the closest that they're coming to Seattle. We're getting on a plane and going to them. I want to see that visual presentation of their music." And it was lights out, one of the best concerts I have ever been to. Beyoncé Renaissance, one of the best concerts I've ever been to. Kendrick, one of the best concerts I've ever been to. Hell, Rodrigo E. Gabriela, one of the best concerts I've ever been to, and it's them, their guitars, and their band. It's one of the most entertaining experiences I've ever had because they turn the audience into the percussion. So, yeah, people are gonna be picky about who they go and see. I'd rather go see A$AP Rocky, and I don't even listen to A$AP Rocky. I have no doubt. I don't think I've seen a music video. I don't even think that I've seen more than 2 live performances of his on the old television or the YouTubes, but I know for damn sure it's gonna be more entertaining more put together and more polished than a Drake concert. See? There you go. Yeah, you should be picky. You should definitely be picky. I saw them at Paramount. They were incredible. Good to see you, Mark Mark. They were incredible. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I was shit, how old was I? I was probably, like, somewhere between 18 and 20, 17 and 20 maybe. Yeah, it was a long time ago, but that was it has stuck with me ever since. That was one of the best experiences. Yeah. Right, because he has a whole band, sometimes an orchestra, and he himself is a he knows how to translate emotion and energy in just how he stands on stage. Drake just looks like he's moping the whole time, shoulders hunched. He's just moping the whole time. So, but when you have those kinds of live components, that makes a show exciting. Seeing a band jam together at that level, that's exciting. That's what actual live music is, not having just an artist on stage with big speakers rapping along to themselves, and you hear what was solely produced in the studio. No, I wanna hear your own interpolation of your own music live. Ain't no investment for giving Drake $1 billion. He barely got 10 for the logo and the name. There is no investment firm that is giving Drake $1 billion unless every last one of his masters, the logo, the name, his DNA, his first and second born child are the collateral. Ain't no fucking way an investment firm is giving Drake $1 billion. That's absurd. For fucking what? For what? 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 Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I hear she always gives a really good, tight show. She's a great live performer. So, that's where we're at, beautiful people. That is our update from the BC docket, that expensive ass docket, okay? I will check it once a week over the next couple of weeks, because they're gonna have to file something based on my reading of the, British Columbia Supreme Court rules It has to be within 30 days. I suppose, there's a potential for a caveat there if they feel like they need more time or whatever, but just baseline 30 days to explain why. Why did you submit this piece of paper to the court? Um, so I'm definitely not gonna be this is not gonna be a docket that gets checked as frequently as our federal dockets do here in the United States because that's just ridiculous. So, if you can find it in your heart to contribute to the docket fund to help with all of the dockets that we cover here, I appreciate you. It goes a long way. We're 2 years in, baby. We just had our 2-year birthday, okay? We're almost at 3,000,000 views in that 2-year period. The channel is much older than that and has a couple million more views than that, but being technical and whatnot, since I posted my first video, on the Drake Kendrick battle, yeah, we're at almost 3,000,000 views in that 2-year period, so congratulations to you for making it happen. For making it happen. I don't really know what that number means, but I think it's pretty neat, and I'm proud of us. Yeah, I'm proud of us. Rob Justice, I'm so sorry you're late to the party, beautiful. You're gonna have to run it back. You're gonna have to run it back. First of all, okay, here's my question before we go, because I was just about to leave. Where did this idea come from that Drake is trying to get $1 billion in collateral? Do you understand $1 billion versus the cost of a mansion? Because the value of that home has only depreciated since it was built. And it's a niche home. It was built for somebody, it's literally inlaid, his name is inlaid throughout the property. So what if he put up his house and his catalog for collateral for $1 billion? Where did this idea come from that Drake needs $1 billion in collateral? I'm confused. Mal. I'm seeing 2 citations. Number 1, Drake said something on Iceman. What track did he say it on? I wanna look at the lyrics. And then number 2, Mr. Malnutrition and Malinformed said something on his show. K1988 Smith, it's good to see you, beautiful. Anything in the English language beginning with mal is bad. Don't listen. And this is the other thing. This is another leash, right? You can get an exorbitant amount of money through a, regular degular transaction. Donald Trump does it all the fucking time. Hence the $14 million pool renovation that costs a mill at best. At best. At fucking best. That renovation was $1 million. He dropped 14. so he could wash some money through one of his friends. So, yeah, people do that all the time. We'll buy your house, we'll pay you $50 million even though it's only worth 11. Also, in case y'all don't know, real estate is never really about the house, even though people make it about the house, it is about the property. B's on the table. He wants a $1 billion record deal. He said he wants 1 billion or we're not talking at all. Oh, well then baby, they ain't talking to you. They're not talking to you. Period. They're not talking to you. Nobody is paying Drake $1 billion. Nobody ever. Period. The end. A record company? Nobody is giving Drake $1 billion record deal. Yeah, I mean, if he wants to sell all of his masters, um, let's be clear about what's what. If we're talking about a record deal for new music, nobody's giving Drake $1 billion for that. If we're talking about selling his entire catalog, masters, he would probably have to sell licensing as well if he did that for his entire catalog, which is messy because not everything is Drake's clean. But let's just say for funsies, that he owns all of that. He would have to sell it all. He would have to sell the IP, he would have to sell the marketing, and he would have to sell the actual product. And at that point, you a mascot for your own brand, and you better retire, liquidate everything, and find a fucking cottage. Leslie. He built the house for 100 mil. That's 25% of his advance, and the valuation of it has only gone down since then. Yeah, he wants $1 billion because remember, I've already said this to you all. I've been saying this to you since the very beginning, since he filed the lawsuit. Let's say Drake wants 50 cents for every single time Not Like Us, the song, has been streamed. 50 cents per stream. You know how much money that is? That's a lot of fucking money. You know what UMG's response was to that? On the docket, he's not happy with the contract he got now. He's trying to use this lawsuit to push us into giving him more money and renegotiating his contract, and we're not gonna do that. I've always said from the gate, when people are like, "Why won't he drop this lawsuit?" You don't understand how much money this man stands to gain if he can somehow convince a jury that he was defamed, that there was a conspiracy, that UMG broke these, business laws in New York, consumer laws in New York. He could say 25 cents a spin for streaming the song. Then he could say 25 cents for every view the video has gotten. You know how much money they would owe him.
He's doing it because, in theory, it launches him into billionaire stratosphere. Maybe. You gotta pay the taxes. So maybe you up there on paper, but then right below it, once all the accounting shakes out. But that's what he wants. I don't think he gives a fuck about being defamed. I think this is all about the fact that he hates UMG. He wants to be the favorited golden child that is given everything and protected from everyone. And this is the biggest push play, all chips in. I'm going for a Billy.5 or 2 Billy.5, depending on what we ask for in damages. But he wouldn't say like 150 million. He would not do that. He will come up with a number under $1 per stream. That's what he'll do. This is pretty much my are you out of your fucking mind? I said that with love, okay? It sounded disdainful, okay? But I have no disdain towards you, okay? That is my honest reaction. DSJ, everybody is waiting to see if Lucian Grange will give it to them. Are you out of your fucking mind? Uh, what? If you listen to the streets, Drake's contract was renegotiated before his lawsuit against UMG. He did not like that contract. If you will recall, OVO started putting out there into the world, UMG is trying to undervalue Drake in his contract negotiation. He had his contract negotiated. He sued. During the litigation, Lucian Grange filed a declaration onto the docket. We read it here because Drake was trying to go after his files, just like he was trying to go after Kendrick's unredacted contract, but that's another topic. So Lucian Grange responded to Drake trying to go after his files and told the court, this motherfucker is suing because he does not like his contract. He's trying to use this lawsuit to renegotiate his contract. And we're not going to do that. We're not going to renegotiate his contract, and we're certainly not going to bend on this fucking lawsuit. He said, I deal with this shit all the time. We're not giving him that, and we're not giving him this. So when people were talking about there's going to be a settlement, UMG's trying to settle with Drake and blah, 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 literally sworn under penalty of perjury of law on the docket was a joint filing by both parties saying Drake will not discuss settlement, and no parties think it's fruitful to even discuss it at this juncture. Translation, we're preparing for trial. Drake doesn't want a settlement, not at that stage. And UMG wasn't sweating over shit. They didn't have a reason to offer one. When the lawsuit was dismissed, UMG immediately released a statement and said, well, this is fantastic. Glad this distraction is over. Drake, here's your new platforms. Here's your new booty shorts. Get back to the corner. Make us some music, please. Thank you. UMG has no reason to give Drake a $1 billion contract. for music that is not going to sell. Unless that contract includes, and this is why we're separating the two things out, because OVHOs like to, and I'm not saying you are, OVHOs like to smash things together. A contract for new music and selling shit are two different things. Could they technically happen around the same time? Sure. Could they be incorporated into one business transaction overall? Sure. But they are two separate fucking things. New music is not worth $1 billion. Not instantly. It's not worth $1 billion. The most profitable thing that he has is his catalog and licensing rights for the future. And the future is now until the earth fucks off into the sun. Because there may very well be a point in time, it could be 20 years from now, where there's a reemergence of people listening to Drake's catalog and it pops. It's popular. It's in everything. It's on commercials. It's in movies. It happens. It happens. So it could definitely happen with Drake. So people they're not really, when it comes to the music, investors are not really focused on what he's doing now. They're focused on what is the value of what he has already done in the future. That's more valuable than new music. But no. Nobody is just gonna give Drake $1 billion. Like, unless unless you're talking about some rich unk in Dubai who has decided, this is going to be my pet. He's going to perform at our holiday parties. He's going to entertain my harem. He's going to do all of these things. That's the new, Bruno Mars is in debt to the casino and the mafia. That would be what that is. If Drake just pops up in another part of the world, hell, he could go to Bangladesh. Same thing. Some rich Indian unk has decided, this is my toy poodle for the next however many years. Also, I'll just say this. One of the aha light bulb moments that I had through the last 2 years, including the Clips media run through their album release. Let God sort 'em out. Is that it? Did I get it right? If you're thinking to yourself, "She don't know," I know. I have brain issues. One of the things that I really learned and understood was that this whole time that Drake has been with UMG, he has been a litigation risk for UMG. And it doesn't even have anything to do with his own music. It has to do with every single other fucking rapper on the label who doesn't like him or that he doesn't like. And behind the scenes, I think Drake has pushed the "I'm gonna sue" play against UMG successfully many, 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 many times. And this was the one time where circumstances had changed enough. Drake is in a different position on the board. There's a new player on the board, Kenny. The audience has moved its position on the board. Other artists have moved on the board. Like, the battlefield and the methodology of engagement and who's engaging is not the same as it was as when he could put his thumb on the scale and UMG would be like, "You're right, we'll make that go away." That's an annoying person to have to deal with. You're threatening to sue us all the fucking time because of what another rapper said, what another rapper released, who another rapper worked with. And UMG finally got to the point with Not Like Us where they were like, go the fuck ahead. You really need to sue him, but since you a bitch, go the fuck ahead and sue us. I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much how the conversation went. He said, I'ma sue you. UMG said, boy, you gonna sue who? You mad at that man that bombed an assassin? You mad at him? You supposed to sue him. Drake said, this isn't about a rapper. Boy, yes, it is. We know you fragile. You real fragile. They told Drake several times, you want to sue somebody? Go right ahead. His name is Kendrick Lamar, aka the Bompton assassin. Sue him. Drake said, nah, I think I'm going to sue you. They said, boy, see you in court. And they did not fold. So the relationship has been fundamentally altered at several points in a way that it cannot come back from. You don't just get all the grace, all the support blindingly, because now there is a track record of what you do. You a dirty ass dog. You trying to muzzle the next man while also probably fucking his ex-girlfriend, his girlfriend, his mother-in-law, his daughter-in-law, and whoever else, and then bragging about it somewhere. Men don't like that. But I digress. Will this actually go to trial? Like, come on. Sure, it could go to trial. I mean, the judge could also say, sending you to arbitration, but let's not forget this case was dismissed, beloved. So is it going to go to trial? As it stands, no. This case is not going to trial because this case was dismissed last October. It's under appeal. Okay, it's under appeal. There haven't even been oral arguments yet. Oral arguments haven't even been scheduled. I checked again this morning. But courts are overwhelmed right now, and Drakey Poo is not a fucking priority. So, first of all, he has to win at the appellate level to have the case reinstated, and then there are still procedural steps along the way that could get the case kicked. And it gets dismissed all over again, right? So, but he has already set this up to be potentially the appeal to be a potentially multi-years long battle. As I said at the very beginning of this live, when it comes to the UMG lawsuit, in the appeal, one of the things he's trying to do is carve out an aspect of the case from the Court of Appeals and send it back to the New York Supreme Court for their, renewed deliberation over something they decided a long fucking time ago. It's really annoying, but this is kind of typical in how Drake litigates things. So, yeah. Yeah, I have a whole playlist on the channel for anybody who's curious. I've been covering this lawsuit since day one. I read damn near every single document on the docket during a live. And then would do follow-up videos to explain other things. So there's a whole playlist from the very beginning where I read, all of the documents, all the way up to the case being dismissed. So anybody else can check that out. Um, you know, it's entertaining. We had a good time. We were exasperated at times with some of the things that we read, but we had a good time. It was real illuminating, and you'll learn a lot, right? I saw you say earlier, I believe it was you saying, I'm slow. I don't speak legalese. Nobody here speaks legalese. That's why we're here. We're here to learn about what are these things. I've never had to deal with a docket in British Columbia before. I literally spent 5 hours over 2 days researching what is a jurisdictional response, what could these two various, options mean on here, and then what is the process around filing something like this so that I could come here to you all and say, this is what this is. This is what this could mean. And here's the timeline and process around this document and how it impacts this lawsuit. So that's literally why we're here, is to read documents and answer questions and learn together what a thing is. And there have been plenty of times where I've said something and then I come back in the next live and I'm like, remember when I said that was wrong? That was wrong. So I'm not here trying to make, wild statements, assuming things that I don't know. Other than, I did say a while ago that I thought that he was broke, and I stand by that. I stand by that. He a broke streaming nigga, because that's what broke niggas do. They stream. I can help myself. Sorry. Um, shout out to Quality. Oh, thank you, beautiful. I appreciate you. So you're in good company. If it doesn't make sense to you, you're in good company, but you can always go back into the Wayback Machine right on this channel and, run through something on the playlist that you're specifically interested in to get information. We don't just read a headline about something that was filed in the lawsuit and then riff from there. We read the full documents and then we riff from there. Right? But it's fact-based riffing. Just another shout out to all the folks contributing to the docket fund today. Shout out to anybody who is contributing through the Venmo or the PayPal or the Cash App. Appreciate you as well. Thank you for the gifted memberships. Make sure you all use them. There will be more member content on this channel going forward. 2-year anniversary is a good opportunity to shake some things up and do some things a little bit differently. So there will be more member only content. We will return to member only lives. There was something else I was going to say. Oh, for anybody who cares, the actual categorization of this channel has changed. Since I started this channel, it has been in the music category on YouTube, and I changed it to news and politics, which can be kind of hard to break through, but I appreciate you all for sharing videos, commenting on them, liking them, hyping them. Will definitely help us maintain what it is that we do here. And I really we had a little, small little get together here on the channel for our 2-year, and I asked a bunch of questions, and I had put together those questions just for funsies, but I really did reflect on your answers when you were telling me about the things that bring you to the channel and the content that you enjoy and the things that you want to make sure the content that you want to make sure is kind of like always here. I heard you. I'm listening to that. And that was the reason why I made the categorical change for the channel. And why I'm going to be making, some of the subtle but hopefully consistent changes that get made going forward so that you get the content that you want and we continue to grow and add new folks to our community. I'm excited for that. So thank you. Appreciate you. Yeah, it does suck. And I can change it for like video to video, but like my default setting was music. And even when I was doing stuff about politics, it was still in the music category. So I've changed my default setting to news and politics. But like the World Cup video, it's under sports. I changed it so that it was under sports. So um yeah, I think that's an important change to make so that as channels are focusing on what it is that they do on their platforms, we're doing the same thing here. We're focusing on what it is that we do here and why it is that you come here to this channel. So, yeah. I think that's a total pipe dream and not based in any reality whatsoever, but I respect it because Drake has no. Let me read this comment. DSJ. I think Sony wants Drake so he can go at 50 Cent over who will make the best urban films. I think Drake needs to go back to acting and being a movie producer. Okay. Who has over a decade's worth of experience and who has none? in producing television and now documentaries. Why would anybody assume that a child fucking actor that has done no adult acting whatsoever can go at 50 Cent on the acting tip? I do believe he was nominated for an Academy Award, or on the production tip. He doesn't have a movie production company. Why the fuck? Beloved, so you think that Sony should take a $1 billion gamble for Drake to try and topple 50 Cent's television streaming movie empire? You think they should just gamble that that is gonna be effective? You think they should trust somebody who hasn't acted in something consistently for, like, 2 decades? Hasn't produced anything but Euphoria, but didn't make any actual production contributions to the show? What? Euphoria did not earn HBO $1 billion. Drake was an executive producer. The only thing he did was gather funding. That's it. He had no material impact on the show, period. He gathered funding. He lent his name to it by being an executive producer to attract other people to lend funding to it and to shore up some shit with the studio. And Euphoria did not necessarily, it's debatable on how successful its run or its end were. $50 makes all the decisions about what's happening in his shows. He has a say. He impacts creative decisions and direction. So, like, come back down to reality. Come back down to reality. Drake is a financial risk. Drake is an investment risk. His greatest asset is music he already made, not new music in the future. Nobody is going to give him more than $400 million on a contract. And they're only gonna give him that, which I don't think he got from UMG, by the way. I think he got less than 400 million. Okay. And I think that the contract was written to their benefit. So I don't think Drake is gonna go anywhere and get more than 400 million. And I think heretofore, he's going to have to give up ownership or licensing ownership of things to get people to give him money. He is an aging rapper, and he's already made his best music. He will never make anything comparable again. And in this economy, quite literally in this economy, they're not giving Drake $1 billion for any fucking thing other than ownership and control over everything he has already done. Now I've said it 3 times. So now it's incumbent upon you to go back into the Wayback Machine and look at the videos on this channel. that this is some kind of conspiratorial, magical thinking bullshit, and it's not rooted in reality. And I say that with love. It might not feel like it, but love can be tough sometimes. That's just you have no basis in reality for any of that. I think that's a fantasy. That's a fantasy. Yeah, those are that's eh. It doesn't help that he looks like my actual son. I have, I have a very maternal reaction to those 2 movies, which are stunningly gorgeous. Yeah, they're not giving anybody $1 billion for anything. Nothing. Nothing. Does it have to do with chip production? Does it have to do with cobalt and, minerals and shit to build consoles? And they're not giving $1 billion to anybody. That's just Drake saying, my dick is 12 inches. A billy or we ain't even talking. Well, boy, we ain't even talking then because your dick ain't 12 inches. Mhm. Yeah. Well, now Imma go. It was good to see you all. I appreciate you all very much. This was good. We learned a lot. We can see where things are at. We know that we'll be getting, more documents within the next couple of weeks. I will stay on it, but carefully because, child, this one requires a budget. Okay? Um, yeah. Yeah, very, very interesting. We'll see where it goes. There is another lawsuit I found yesterday that was filed against Drake in May that has not been reported on insofar as I can tell. And I'm still doing research, so we may have another live this week to talk about it. We may not. We'll see what happens. Anyway, it was good to see you all. Thank you all. If you did not hit the like button on your way in, motherfucker, slap that motherfucker on your way out, okay? I appreciate you very much. It is a quick and very powerful way to help the channel. Yeah, guys. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all very soon. Peace.